Hello, this is Kim, and I just really need to get this off my chest. I, I was just before I put the camera on. I was editing my ebook. This ebook that I wrote years ago. I think at the start of my business. It's called Tarot Beginnings: An Introductory Guide to the Story and Study of Tarot, and it's like this cute, very, very practical tarot study guide using elements of storytelling and also lots of literary elements to kind of guide you through tarot, and also just giving you like a framework to start studying tarot. And I was very proud of it after I wrote it. I'm still very proud of it. And I'm just sort of like not really writing anything new, but I'm just kind of fixing up the format and also redoing the cover, and I'm just thinking of putting it back to my shop. And I'm just realizing like the level of self-sabotage that was happening a few years ago when I was launching my business, when I was working towards building my creative online tarot business, when I was just, I remember launching courses, I remember writing this ebook, and I created a lot of different tarot stationery and digital stationery, digitals and stuff. And then I got into like launching actual tarot decks and creating tarot decks and everything. Anyway, my point is the level of self-sabotage. Okay, and I'm just like lamenting over this right now, and I understood why I did that, and I understood my mindset at the time, or lack of a mindset, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't have the tools to really navigate my journey. This ebook, right? So I wrote it and I put it on my shop, sold it for a while, and then after I started selling Way of the Piano Tarot on my shop, so I kind of became more of an e-com business rather than like a digital, like online business. And I took down this book. And the reason why I took this book down was because I was like, the cover looks ugly. Nobody wants to buy it anyway, so might as well take it down. And I think subconsciously I must have been thinking like, oh, I didn't want to somehow not align with this image of myself that I was putting out right now, which is a decorator, so I shouldn't be selling tarot books. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just maybe scared of being judged as imperfect or not good enough. I think that was the deep underlying subconscious narrative that I was operating from. It was just there was a lot of fear of being inadequate, and also needing to sort of put forward this perfect image, because I must have been thinking like, oh, now that I'm an e-com store or like an e-com business, now that I'm a decorator, everything else that doesn't match up to this new identity, new creative identity, new business identity of mine must be eliminated. I know that sounds very bizarre, like it sounds bizarre to me now, even just sort of going back, kind of just retracing my steps, and then just kind of realizing that why did I take it down? Why did I think that, oh, no one's gonna buy it anymore? Why did I suddenly become embarrassed by it? I even took down all of my other digitals, which didn't make any business sense. It's like if I only wanted to make money, I would have kept those things online because they were really great sources of passive income. It didn't even cost me anything to put them up on my website, so people can just browse and they can buy it or not. And I created a lot of neat little things like digital printables, like this ebook about tarot studying, and this ebook about doing pet readings for animals, and lots of fun spread collections, like Game of Thrones themed spread collections, Halloween spread collections, other spread collections, and I have this whole ebook about like productivity, and also using like this digital journal template and whatever. Like I took all of them down because I thought that, oh, my shop needed to look like it was just a tarot shop and I couldn't sell anything else. And oh my god. And I just needed to get that off my chest. I was literally just, I'm just editing this book and I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, why did I mean, here's why. Like, I understand why. And the reason why, number one, is having that underlying narrative of not being good enough. And second of all, that another layer on top of that was needing to appear to be perfect, to have this perfectly constructed identity, present it outwards, and somehow that is going to save me from rejection, judgment, criticism, the pain that I associated with being a failure or fear of failure, I guess. It was, there's a lot of I have a lot of psychological and creative baggage when it comes to my creative identity. And you know how people say the biggest wound that you have ever received in your life is, Rumi says the wound is where light enters you, and in this case it's sort of oh, the wound is where you cultivate your most potent medicine, and this is it. This is mine. And I think the reason, I know this is sounding very chaotic, but I think the reason why I decided to take everything down and just not sell them anymore, I know that sounds very bizarre again, but I think it was because I always have this pattern of once I find something new or perceiving something that I perceive to be this new phase of my life, new chapter, new tagline, new business shift, new different trajectory, new identity or whatever, then I need to stick to that identity, and anything that deviates from that identity is considered trash, inadequate, dangerous, even not relevant. And this line of thinking, this mindset, is sort of because of childhood trauma in a nutshell. I made a few videos about this particular trauma. If you're interested, I might try to find them and link them below because I don't want to keep diving into it. But it's basically because I'm just so scared of staying with my authentic self and just see where that goes. I always have to switch to something else, and I think there's perhaps also this desire to find that right thing, find the perfect thing, find that lane, that trajectory, that algorithm, that paradigm, that one thing that I can just sink my teeth into, where I can just clinging on for just desperately for dear life. So I can just fit myself completely into that mold, under the banner of reinventing myself and being creative and being ingenious and rebelling against the norm. But I'm deep down inside, I'm actually just looking for that perfect norm to fit into, because that's the economy, right? That's sort of my wound acting up, speaking for me, and wanting to find just an ounce of safety in a perfect structure, but at the same time not willing to settle for that. So rebelling against tradition, rebelling against what I perceive to be tradition. So anything that sort of falls into the line of oh, this is too systematic now, this is too traditional, this is too much like what everyone else is doing. For example, selling digital stuff online in my shop, and I was somehow, maybe it got a little screwed up in my head, and I started thinking that, okay, this is what I need to rebel against, or I need to create this new identity for myself and shift into this new identity, and this is me now. This is what I do. This is all that I do. I'm a decorator. And yeah, and here I am. I'm just why the hell did I take that book down? That could have made me, even just from a practical business sense, right? I was just literally thinking this could have made me some money. Maybe not a lot of money since I'm not promoting it, but there were systems in place that I set up through my newsletter and some automated messages and stuff from my website, and that would lead people to this ebook. And when I was writing that ebook, launching that ebook, and launching all the courses around it, I was following this business model of having an online business based on digital products like courses and ebooks and consumables and things like that, because I didn't want to do coaching. I didn't have any physical products to sell at the time, until I created with Piano Tarot and also more decks after. And I'm just reminiscing, right? It's just not in a way where I was oh, why didn't I do that? I think I was maybe thinking that a little bit, but not from a place of self-deprecation or self-hate. It wasn't God damn it, Kim, why didn't you do that? It was sort of wow, it was just looking at the mindset that I had then, and knowing that I was very traumatized and I was very severely dissociated. And then didn't even have the coping mechanism or the language to describe what I was going through. You know, now that I've learned about somatic therapy and nervous system and, you know, being in a free state, fawn, fight or flight, and then the effects of stress on your mental health and your creativity and how you make decisions and things like that, practicing mindfulness even more, actually applying the things I learned from shadow work, and then taking steps towards healing and cultivating more self-love, la 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 la. It just how far I've freaking come, right? It just, at the time I was like almost delirious, just running away from trauma by diving into intense creativity. And it's sort of like my calling, but at the same time it was also the bane of my existence, because I know my creative identity has always been something that truly just the things I went through, the trauma I went through with this has truly just caused me so much grief. And it's something I'm continuously unpacking right now. Sometimes I'm just like, am I getting stressed out because this was a wound, or is this my body contracting, telling me that this isn't a project I should pursue? And now things are going slow-ish because I'm trying to sort out all that information. And sometimes when I think about how fast you're supposed to be going, say if you're in hustle culture or whatever, sometimes I feel like I'm being left behind, or I'm moving too slowly, or I'm not doing enough work, or I get production guilt and things like that. But like, if I just take a breath and just remember everything that I've learned and all the wisdom I have gained, I now see that it's actually perfect that I'm taking things slow. It's actually necessary and absolutely imperative that it takes things slow. It's also, it can't go any faster, and not in a way that's helpless, but in a way that I actually need all this space and time to sort through all the information. And I was having a bit of analysis paralysis, or this was kind of just a story on my life, and I was just having a lot of that lately, or just having more awareness when I'm having a lot of that lately. So I would notice when I'm having analysis paralysis. I think before I would just like, you know, jump into something else as a way of coping. But now thinking back and also just looking at now, sometimes I will be looking at my business and I will be like, oh, I only literally wrote one Instagram post this week. But just beneath that Instagram post, it was just me sorting out so much information about myself. Like, calming down my triggers, figuring out if it was actually a trigger, figuring out if it was because of my creative blocks, or needing to actually shift gears, and just getting to know myself without all the dissociated trauma response that's clouding my judgment, and sort of just having an overlay on top of my existence. Now that this stuff is cleared, I'm actually here and seeing myself for the very first time, and actually be like, oh my god, like I can actually apply what I've learned when it comes to productivity and running a business, because I found it so difficult before I worked out all this stuff, that it was so difficult to make a decision or to actually apply the knowledge that I've gained from, say, courses that I've taken about online businesses. And I would just always feel so, I don't know what I was feeling. Probably not much, because I was dissociated and stressed out and burned all the time. So it was kind of like running around like a headless chicken sort of vibe, but like a buff armored chicken, because I was like hardcore warrior mode, but maybe it was more like berserker, not warrior, because the warrior is disciplined. And I don't know where this is going, but yeah, I just really needed to get that off my chest, because I was literally editing my ebook. I'm like, I took it off my shop for 2 years, 3 years, and people would always ask me like, where's your book? Like, I wanted to find it, the link is not working. And I'm just like, oh, like I'm rewriting it. But I've been saying that for years. I never rewrote it. I have plans to expand sections, write more sections that add to it and build on it, but I've been saying that for 3 years. I think that was maybe something that I really wanted to do, but also wasn't able to sort out all the other things I wanted to do and also needed to be done, such as actually healing and learning how to love myself and unpacking everything that I was going through for my dissociated years and releasing trauma and things like that. So I kept saying that. I told that to people. I was like, oh, because I'm upgrading it. But I never did. I think that was sort of maybe a more glorious excuse about what I was actually going through, which was fear and paralysis and not knowing what I was doing, just doing the best that I could at the time. Yeah, so now I'm editing this book. I'm ready to put it out again. And I know some of you may be thinking like, oh, when is the upgraded version gonna come out? Honestly, I don't know. I am done making promises. Sometimes I feel like I'm just making promises on social media and telling my followers, telling you guys that, just to feel like I'm somehow moving. I'm somehow doing something. I'm not slacking off, you see. It's not like I'm just taking a much needed break for my mental health or whatever. I think I had that production guilt and things like that. But what I've learned is like, I'm done promising anything. Like I'm not in a way where I'm like running away from this business, but I just feel like sometimes I like to announce things. Like I'm sure you'll relate if you're on my channel. Sometimes you announce things. You're just like, oh yeah, this is my plan. I'm gonna work on this. This is what I'm gonna create this year. And then I end up doing none of those things or maybe one of those things. Something that I'm learning lately is also just like choosing what to focus on. And I know like maybe this is like fairly easy for some of you if you're listening, but when you're trying to hustle, when you're trying to be like an entrepreneur, when you're trying to run a business online, when you're trying to create something literally out of the ethers and you don't have a system or structure or someone to guide you through that, you have to figure everything out on your own. It's like it's actually pretty hard sometimes, you know, like just kind of patting myself on the back there, just acknowledging it. Like I think despite all the courses I've taken and all the materials that I've consumed, like giving me a lot of tools as to like how to navigate this business, this creative journey, like it was still so overwhelming. And I think on top of all the other stuff that I needed to unpack, trauma, it was just very hard. I didn't have a lot of mental capacity left to absorb those things that I've learned. But now, looking at everything now, having more space in my heart and my mind and my body, now I can honestly say like, oh, I'm actually applying the things I'm learning or have learned. I'm actually looking at the things that I'm doing from a more like exploratory and curious perspective. And not as in like, oh, I need to make this one post and it needs to perfectly align with this series of posts that I'm going to be putting on Instagram, and it needs to just completely align to the T, just with this overarching picture or theme, or it must lead up to this offer, or it has to be perfectly planned and executed. None of that now. Now I just look at a post, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this post it around this time and try this format and see how people respond. And I just I would just create, and now I just let the universe tell me like, okay, I'm gonna create what I love. Let me know what people love more, so we can like meet each other halfway creatively in that dream space and then make some magic happen. So I can be creating something that I love, because I can go about like just so many ways, so many directions. There's so many things I would love to create that would bring me just as much joy. But I think creating something that people resonate with the most, I think that's when that beautiful magical synergy happens. And so that's my plan. Just continue to learn, explore, and not self-sabotage anymore. Although I would say like perhaps that wasn't technically self-sabotaging, because it was the parts of me that felt threatened by the pain from the fear of not wanting to experience the pain again. It was them trying to protect me in a roundabout way, and I wasn't able to show up enough for them, for that part to calm the F down. But now everything is good. Everything is is in magical, witchy wizard time, and everything is just divine timing, and things are coming together as they have always been, and I'm just finally feeling awake for the first time. I kind of feel like I was like a berserker, sleeping, like high functioning sleeping beauty, because I was dissociated but was also extremely productive and perfectionist. So yeah, anyway, just need to get that off my chest, and I hope you resonated. If not, thank you so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying your morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. Let me know what you think about this little anecdote or multiple anecdotes that I've shared. Hope you're having an awesome day, and I want you to know that you are loved and you are enough, and you're just an amazing person. So yeah, until next time, check out my other videos if you want to hear me ramble some more. Yeah, that's it. Bye.